to the first episode of the Spiritual Chronicles. Yeah! And
Woohoo!
I am so excited to have my guest here today, who is a very special friend, Megan North, and I will have Megan introduce herself to you all. So, Megan, please tell us who you are.
Hi everyone, I'm Megan North. I am a purpose finder, so I help people find their true north. I'm also the host of a TV show. I am a mental health and wellbeing
Oh, give the
advocate.
TV show a plug.
Oh yeah, the TV show, The True North Show.
Yeah.
I'm a mental health and wellbeing advocate as well, so I run and facilitate workshops in the corporate space for people who would like more tips and tools and strategies around managing their mental health and well-being. I'm also an energy healer and I'm an oracle card reader and teacher.
You have a lot of different facets to everything you do, but we've had this conversation before. We talked about like how we all turn up in different ways in the energy space. And so, what brought you, I mean, you've got a HR background, and what brought you to the point where you suddenly started bringing in all of the energy work? You're a theta healer, I know, and that you do the oracle cards. So what kind of brought you to this point to incorporate those into what you do?
I think it was about getting the courage to just talk about it and also the courage to really trust my intuition because I have been very intuitive my whole life. And I think it was one of those things when you work in the corporate space, the old, oh, that's really woo woo in a sense. And so you don't really talk about those sort of things. But I guess as I got more confident, and also I just think that the world and corporate life is changing. I think COVID's had a lot to do with that as well, in the
Yeah, I
sense of I
agree.
think a lot of people had a lot of awakenings through COVID. And now that I suppose the corporate space hasn't gone back to that traditional 9 to 5, you've got to come into the office every day. I feel like that it's actually given people like me an opportunity to be a little bit more open about talking about this sort of thing. And I also, the reason I said trusting my intuition as well is that when I started to really tune in and hone into my intuition, when I was still working in HR in the corporate space, I would kind of tune in when I was having a conversation with someone and I would think, oh, could I actually mention that I do this work? And so I started to really trust that. And the amount of conversations that I would have and the amount of clients, I would say probably, I don't know, 90% of my clients are all in the corporate space.
Yeah.
So it's about having that confidence to actually talk about it, show up in that space. And I think the other thing too is that I'm a little bit realistic, and some people would say humble. I say realistic, that I'm not here to convert everybody. If you believe in it, great. If you don't, then that's fine. I have a
Yeah,
niece, one of
definitely.
my nieces who is very Christian, and she hates the whole thought of the card reading. She thinks that I'm invoking the devil. And so I just don't talk about that stuff around her.
Yeah.
Because why? Why would I? I don't want to, it's not for me to convert her. That's her belief. This is my belief, but that's okay. I'm fine with that. So I just don't bring it up around her.
Yeah, it's quite funny. I think I've got some of my clients are in the spiritual space, and others are very not. They're very pragmatic, and that's it's all science. So we do have banter jokes where they'll go, "Oh, why don't you get out your crystal balls and do your ritual?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure." And they're like, "Really?" I go, "No, I don't have any of that. I don't do that. That's not my thing." So it just at least they can have a laugh about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is quite interesting that some people can be quite blocked off to it, and and that's it. We honor their space to not talk about it as much as as they have to honor
Yeah.
that we may want to talk about it, but will respectfully not do it in their presence as such.
Absolutely. It's a lot, it's with any belief system that we have. I'm not here to convert you. If you believe in what you do, that's fine. But respect me the way that I respect you and don't try to convert me because I'm not going to try to convert you. So it can be about religion, it can be about anything, you know. I'm a non-drinker. I don't want to be then someone trying to convince me to drink, and I don't want to be trying to convince someone not to drink. That
Yeah.
they're our own belief systems.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I know in your business that you do, you embrace your theta healing, but you also do a lot of executive coaching. So how do you kind of incorporate the two? Because for a lot of people, they don't quite see how they fit.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be really nice for people to kind of understand that, you can be both and embrace them into your world in the one piece.
Absolutely. And I always say that this is my zone of genius because I can step into a corporate boardroom and run and facilitate a session on mental health or a board meeting and be very corporate. And then an hour later, I can step out and do an angel card reading for someone. I have this innate ability and this gift to be able to switch it on and off, and to then be, I don't want to be sitting in a boardroom of executives if they are not into that. And that's also that if that's not my purpose for being there.
Yeah.
So I have this gift that I can switch it off. I might get some messages as I'm sitting there, but I don't know, I've not intentionally done it. But I just have this way of just being able to go, okay, I guess it's reading the room. It's
Yeah.
being in that space and knowing what I am there for, what is my purpose, and why have they got me in this room, and then using those gifts and then stepping out. And then if I'm doing a reading for someone, it's because they want me to be really woo-woo and they want me to tune in and give them a message.
Yeah.
So I think it's just that respecting of why am I here?
Yeah.
And again, it's then not trying to convert. Like, I'm not going to go and run a boardroom facilitation with a whole heap of executives and start to try to convert them to be a spiritual person, because that's not what they've asked me to, unless they have asked me to, and then I will.
Exactly. And now I have had the privilege of having one of your angel card readings, and like so on the money. And I have to say, very happily implementing things that came up in the conversations. And, tell us a bit about, so you have a couple of different like angel card readings you do. So maybe we could explain to our audience, what they are and I guess how they're different from one another.
So I do a general reading, which is 60 minutes. I do use about 3 or 4 different decks of oracle cards because I like to get the different energy from each deck. And as you can see behind me, I've got quite a few, and I've just done a cull actually. So that's the cull version.
Which is quite funny, since the other day we were talking about we might have to set up an Alcoholics Anonymous for Oracle Cards Anonymous for all of us who are a bit addicted to buying.
Exactly. So a general reading is usually someone that's coming in just for something that they might actually want some messages around or some specifics of something that they're working on. And so it'll be 60 minutes of just talking generally through all the messaging that I'm getting. So the way I'll clarify the way that I get my messages. So I my strongest gift is clairaudience, so I hear. And so I start to hear a lot of things that come into my brain and into my mind, and then I just start speaking it. So I guess we call it channeling in the sense, because if I was logically thinking about what's coming into my head, I would be going, I can't say that, or that doesn't mean anything to me, or I don't understand it.
Yeah.
But then if I'm just speaking it and just letting it filter through, 100% of the time my clients are like, yep, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, I find like I'll have moments where I'm like, why am I thinking about that? And then I realize that's not me. That is, something coming in for somebody else. And I assume that would be exactly what happens with you.
Yeah, exactly. So I do a 60-minute general, and then I also offer a 12-month forecast reading. So that can be done at any time of the year, but it's particularly popular at the beginning of each year. So I do specifically open my calendar at the beginning of the year, usually the break in between Christmas and New Year, because I have a lot of clients that come to me every year religiously for their 12-month forecast.
Oh,
So
amazing.
we will go then through each month of the year. There's only been one or two times where I've had a client that it hasn't necessarily been month by month. It's actually been an overall energy of what's happening in the next 12 months.
Yeah.
And when I've asked why we're not being that specific, it's because the guides are saying to me, this person will really take it to like to the nth degree of, if this didn't happen in January, then why hasn't it happened?
Yeah.
In the sense of more beating themselves up about it. So we've been given a more of a generalistic, this is sort of the energy for the next 12 months. But then I also have other clients who had a beautiful client a few years ago that came to me. She'd never had a reading before, and her first reading was a 12-month forecast reading. And every month I'd get an update from her. Oh my gosh, you're not going to believe, look what happened, and this happened, and that. And I love it because every year she comes back now. And
Oh, that's
every few
gorgeous.
months I get an update about what's going on. So that's really lovely.
Oh, that's so
Um,
good.
and then I also do a life quadrant package as well. So that's a more in-depth. So we look at the four parts of, so we look at relationships, we look at the health, career, and then also personal development. And so we do one reading specifically for health, and then the next month we would do relationships, and then so it's over 4 to 6 months, depending on what break you want in between. Yeah.
Oh, wow. As you were talking about the cards, it was quite funny because I'm getting told by my team, she's not just oracle cards. You are actually a very intuitive, and your guides are quite loud and vocal. And you and I have had very many conversations where my brother has come to you, and your mum likes to come and boss me around to tell me to do things that are for your business, which I just love. One of the things that can happen, as we know, we can get very caught up in what's happening around us, and having practices that keep us grounded and aligned, especially in this chaotic world. What are your practices that you love doing that, help you keep, focused, whether they're daily, weekly, monthly? What are some of those that you do?
So I intentionally open up the space. So I have a candle that if I'm about to do a session with someone, I'll light the candle. I also use oils for my own protection. So frankincense or sacred frankincense, I always pop on the top of my head because that gives me an energetic coverage, I suppose, or
Oh, wow.
protection.
Yeah.
Um, but it's really interesting because I've got this gift of being able to turn things on and off, I actually use that in the spiritual space as well. So for me, when I'm about to sit and do a reading for someone, I don't need a lot of time to actually tune in because I can turn it on and I can turn it off very quickly.
Yeah.
And so I find that I don't get drained. Sometimes I may, if I've had like a really heavy healing session with someone, or it's been particularly deep,
Yeah.
I might feel a little bit drained. Or if I've done, 3 or 4 very spiritual things in the day, I could be tired in the evening. But I do use that same technique of when I guess I just read the room of, okay, I need to be on for doing a reading,
Yeah.
but I always have an intention that what they're going through and their energy is never going to affect me.
Yeah.
So I've always put that intention out there, and I just trust that that will always happen. But sometimes I then do need to just come back into the room as well. So it's about being present. It's about, maybe looking out the window and going, okay, I'm back in my apartment. I'm back here. Here I am.
Yeah.
I suppose it's probably evolved over time. Some people are really, like, I've spoken to lots of spiritual healers that say that they've got to spend half an hour at least before they go into a session,
Yeah.
to be really prepared. But I've never needed to do that. But that's for some. And then and again, I'm
Yeah.
not here to convert them or to tell them that it's wrong.
Well, I think that's it. I mean, I know when I was learning more about the Akashic records, like my mentor said that, they say the opening, prayer 3 times. And so I was like, oh, okay. Like, why. And they're like, they say it out loud once, twice to themselves. So when I do sessions with people, I actually do that. But I know that most of the time I actually don't even need to do that. I just need to, for me, it's a bit of a trust thing. I just need to trust that what I'm hearing is correct. And, I know when I have calls, sometimes I'm like, I fill myself up with doubt. And then I get the call and I'm like, oh, they just validated everything I wrote down. But yeah, it's really interesting, like the different ways that people honor their space. And I know that we've had conversations where, somebody's might have been like energy zapping, and you've talked to me about put the white cloak around and stand on the grass and ground yourself. And there's such great practices that we should incorporate just as part of our everyday life, because they keep our spirituality and our openness to the energies more succinct, that we can hear, see, feel what's being said to us.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I recently, probably in the last 6 months, I've started to do more is when I go to sleep, that I close down all my energy centers and also all my chakras, because because I'm a bit of a, at night I can go off and I can do a whole heap of spiritual energy work while I'm asleep. And so I was finding that I wasn't sleeping well and I was feeling very drained and not refreshed in the morning. So now I actually have that intention that I close down my energy, but also my chakras, so that then I'm sleeping a lot better now, because energetically I don't mind going off and doing the work at night. But I also want to be able to pick and choose when I want to do that as well. I don't want it just to be a common open thing, because that will then start to really have a detrimental effect on my health.
Yeah.
But I also just want to say to anyone that's listening is that do what works for you. So be guided by what people share with you. And, if you've got a mentor or a teacher, but then start to work out for yourself what works for you. Because what you do may not be the same thing that I do, because we have different intentions or our protection is different. So
definitely.
so I think it's just also just using your own intuition. There's no right or wrong way to do any of this.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before, where we're all kind of in that energy space, but we all show up differently, like a light worker to a healer to a psychic to oracle cards to Akashic records. We're all working within that space, but we all honor it and we all show up in it slightly different. And even like one oracle card reader to another, they won't have the same practices either. And that's part of, I guess, the exciting reason for why I decided to do this show, because I wanted to teach people and even for my own growth, learn things as we go along, because there's so many different things out there and so many variations that you come along and you go, actually I resonate with this more than that practice. This is a nicer way. It feels more harmonious for me to turn up in that space doing it this way than I felt like before. This was a really horrible task, and I wasn't, I guess, opening up as much when you go through that path to when you find something that resonates with you to show up in that space.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's really interesting because I teach Oracle card courses online, but I also have a local community college that I teach in person. And we've got a new lady that's only joined, I think last term. Yeah, she joined last term with us. I've had this group of women that is just growing and growing. It's really beautiful. And she is of South American descent. I think she's South American. And so the way that she shuffles her cards and then cuts her decks is completely different to anyone else in the class. But I love that, because I'm like, oh, okay, why do you do that? So she cuts the deck in three and then she puts them back. And then when she does a card spread, she then also always gets the very last card and puts it at the top as well, because from a superstition point of view, that's how they do that. So it's not up to me to tell her that that's not how you do it. I love that because I'm learning from her as well.
Because I even noticed, like in your course, and we're currently doing the chakra oracle card course, and even like watching you shuffling too, I always was like at the card deck on the side and flicking it this way, and then I noticed like it suddenly became, obvious that I started watching everybody else how they do it, and some people I noticed were like putting their thumb and pulling the card down as opposed to flicking the card in.
Yep.
And I remember when I first did your first course, and I was when you was talking about, oh, the cards are just popping out, and I'm like, mine are not doing it. And then I was holding them tightly. I was never giving them the opportunity to pop out. It was a controlled, and like my husband, when he does his oracle cards, he'll actually spread them out across the floor, and then he'll energetically put his hands over and pull out the cards that resonate with him.
Yep.
So yeah, it's quite interesting to see how people. I noticed one person shuffling, and they shuffle the deck half go forward, half go back as they're shuffling, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I've never seen that before. So yeah, all again doing the same thing but in different formats, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think again, it's just whatever your journey is and how you do it. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just your way of doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, for somebody who might be wanting to, start the journey of learning about, say, oracle cards, how would they go, or what would you recommend they do to start that journey? I mean, I would personally say they need to do your course, because I was the same. As much as I bought oracle cards for years, I actually never realized there were so many different deck spreads you could do. Like, I had no idea, and I have just learned so much, and yeah, it just blows me away, like what's come up and how on point they are, and
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think when you're learning, well, buy obviously a deck of oracle cards. So do you want me to just quickly explain the difference between tarot and
Yes,
oracle as well?
yes,
So tarot
absolutely.
cards are a deck of a certain number of cards, and the decks are always the same. So there's no variation with with a tarot card deck. There has to be a certain amount of cards, and all the cards are the same. So you could look at them and they're very different, but the purpose behind each card is always the same in a tarot deck. Whereas oracle cards can be anything. They can be any amount of cards. They can be the theme of anything. And so for me, I think that's why I've always been drawn to oracle cards, because I love the freedom of them. And
Yeah,
I love that it's not in a certain box, haha,
yeah,
pardon the pun, but in a certain box as well. So oracle cards can be whatever they want to be, really.
yeah,
So, but I think, yeah, so buy a deck of cards and then just start to play with them. And when you're learning, when you get your oracle or whichever card you want to use, when you open it up at the beginning, there's usually a couple of card spreads that the book will actually say, try this.
yeah,
So it's always just starting with one or two cards, but always having an intention of what message do you want to get.
yeah,
So it's really connecting in with the cards. And then just if you're just starting, I think having a couple of different spreads helps, because otherwise it can be a bit overwhelming, because
yeah.
you're like pulling all these cards and then you're like, I don't know, I'm not, I don't even know what I'm asking for. So then
Isn't there a
Google
standard like 3 card draw? Like,
past,
uh,
present, future.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I don't like doing the past spreads, because I'm like, look, what,
Well,
unless I'm
I'm a
doing a
big believer that
healing.
what's past is past. So what do
Yeah,
you need to? I think probably there's an element where you might say the energetic block, like
yes,
what are you carrying forward from the
yeah,
past that you still
exactly.
need to release?
Yeah, yeah. But then I would just Google some different spreads. So, just Google Oracle card spreads and then just see what comes up, and then just start playing with that. And then just start to get, using, maybe you just get really used to just doing one Oracle card spread over a few weeks, but it's about practicing and it's about getting really confident with it. So my beautiful class that I teach in person, this is so I started 12 months, just over 12 months ago. And the journey that they have been on is incredible. And it's really funny, because now when they pull their cards out, they're like, yep, I know what that means. Yep, yep, yep. Whereas like at the beginning, they're like, I have no idea. And they're having to get the book and read it and that sort of
Yeah,
stuff. It's practice. It's
yeah,
just practice and trusting your intuition. So that to start, just grab a deck and just have some fun with it and just start
Is
playing
there
with
a
it.
deck that you would recommend, I guess, for people who are starting out?
So Rebecca Campbell Work Your Light is a really beautiful deck of cards because they're very light. So they're
Yeah.
not too heavy. They've got some very good questioning cards in there to really go deep.
Yeah.
They're really good. They would probably be the ones that I would start with because they're
Do
just
you have a favorite deck that you love using?
um that's really hard to say because probably from week to week it changes.
Or when we suddenly discover a new deck?
Exactly, exactly.
I love that. So tell us, Megan, what is one truth that you live by, no matter what? What is, you know, what is it that you, no matter what happens, that is, I guess, your sacred being for, the diet, the live or die, the thing that you solely follow?
I would say respect has got a really big thing in my life. So respecting where people are,
Yeah,
uh,
I
because
love that.
because everybody's where they need to be, and I don't want to be judging where someone is. I don't know what their backstory is. And so just by respecting where they are, and then the opposite is then respecting myself as well of where I am too,
Yep,
because having that respect of, and I suppose it, that the word respect, also the word trust comes into, particularly if I'm talking about myself, because I'm respecting myself for where I am, but I'm also trusting that the universe, all my guides, my mum and dad, everybody is looking after me, and they're actually, I'm in full trust of that they are holding the space for me. But I think respect of others is something that I really, really hold dearly to me.
yep,
Um, because we never know what someone's going through and you never know what is happening for them on that day.
yep.
And so I think if we can just look at someone just with respecting where they are, then I think that it's a good place to start.
I'm being quietly reminded to ask a question. So, with the oracle cards, have you ever had a moment where you've done a reading for someone where it didn't feel right, or it was the messages felt blocked or not
Yep.
clear? Like, how did that come about? And I guess, how did you handle the
Yeah.
situation?
So when I use all the different Oracle decks, sometimes I do have a deck of Radley Valentine Angel Tarot Wisdom cards, and I
Yep,
love Radley. He's amazing. And so I've got a deck of his tarot cards, but because it's got the word angel in them, I quite like them. But I sometimes I use them. So when I go to do a reading, I usually use a similar set of decks for people, but sometimes I might be guided depending on what they're going through that I'm guided, don't use that deck. And
yep,
so I did have, and I was actually here in my room. I had someone here and we were doing a reading and I was using those cards. And I think it was either so I usually do like four cards, four cards, four cards. And I think it was the middle cards that I had those. And the first four cards were on point. Like we were having this amazing conversation. Then I started pulling these cards out and I said to her, this just seems weird. And she said, this does not resonate with me at all. And I said, no, they don't. And so I just bundled them up and I just went and picked a different deck of cards and used those, and then the messaging was clear. So I
oh,
think
awesome.
I didn't make it a stress.
Yeah,
I was open with her and just said this seems odd,
yeah,
because and I suppose from an integrity point of view, if I tried to fit that in with what we were talking about, then for my integrity's gone out the window.
yeah.
And even she said, "Oh, these just seem strange." So I just closed them up and just grabbed a different deck of cards. I was
Nice.
really open with her and she was fine with that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Now, what's on the cards? What's coming up in the world of me? I secretly know about one thing that's coming, so I'd love you to share it.
So I'm about to step into season 2 of the True North show, which is really exciting. So
Yay.
lots of new clients lots of new guests coming through. continuing on with working with my clients and helping them find their true north. So I'm working with a range of clients at the moment where some already know what their true north is, and I'm just helping them stay focused, and particularly let's set some intention of like
Yeah.
over the next 6 months, how do you want to achieve it? I've got some that have no idea, and so we're really exploring that, which is really interesting. And then I've got a couple that are kind of in between. So continue to work with individual one-on-one clients in relation to that journey that they're on. I have some speaking engagements that are coming up in the next few weeks as well. And because September is here in Australia, Are You OK Day? So I'm actually speaking in an organisation on Are You OK Day around mental health and wellbeing. So I've got a few speaking engagements that are coming up as well. What else is happening?
Is there
So,
an oracle card?
oh, yes, yes, yes. So in the next couple of months, because we'll have a break in between the chakra course that we're doing, but I'm also running a moon magic oracle card course as well. So I'll be releasing that, which is
And
really
please,
exciting.
please note, everybody listening and watching, that I will be putting the links to Megan's courses and her website and her coaching. And also, something she's not mentioned is she has a beautiful community on Facebook, the Angels in Your Pocket group. So I'll make sure that that link is also added in there.
Thank
Because Megan,
you.
you do pop into the group and do live card readings, and also, just what's coming up for people, which is really lovely.
Yeah, yep. And then I guess the other thing that I've got going on is that I also have a business with a beautiful girlfriend of mine. And so we run retreats for women. So they're in-person retreats
Give it a
in
plug.
Sydney. But she and I are actually also going to be releasing a membership around that community, the uniquely connected community as well. So that's
Amazing.
definitely a watch this space as well, because even if you can't attend an in-person retreat with us, we will still be, the membership will give you access to us on a monthly basis.
Because at this stage, most of your retreats are based Sydney,
Yes,
Australia. So, I'm hoping to see the roadshow so you can head over my way
yes,
because I'm in South Australia.
yes,
Yeah, so I'm excited to see that the membership's going to be launching.
yeah,
And it's the website is uniquelyconnected.com for
yeah,
those who want to explore that more. But yeah, that's amazing.
yeah. I think that isn't that all that I've got going on at the
Yeah, I
moment?
think that's pretty much, yeah, pretty quiet, I can see. So, maybe we should send some work your way. Megan, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. And I am so excited that you were my very first guest on the Spiritual Chronicles. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, and I've loved being your first guest. What a joy.